Hi there, and welcome to Unclassified, where our horror is your entertainment. This is my second episode of my SCP series, and I'm going again with SCP-002, which this time it is SCP-002, the living room. Now, basically what this living room is, it's not your day-to-day living room. You know, you have your sofas, your TV, your fireplaces, your, I don't know, your advent calendars, if, depending on what time of the year is, all your Halloween buckets if you have them in your living room for some reason. Don't know why it wouldn't be by the front door, but you know, I'm not going to complain, I'm not going to judge anyone. Everyone has their own individual tastes and what they like to do for each season, so just don't judge, sit back and let's get into what this thing is. So yeah, what this living room is, it's a massive, like a gigantic ball of, well, flesh. That's pretty much it is. It's a massive ball of flesh. I don't know what. I'm not going to go into where it's discovered because I'm not a science channel. If you want, I'm not a science channel. I'm not a scientist. You know, if you want to know where it is, then go search up yourself. But yeah, it's a massive ball of flesh, and basically what this thing does is, so yeah, the outside of this thing is a massive ball of flesh, but the inside is where it gets different because in the inside, that's where you get to see why this thing's called the living room. Because on the inside, there's like, I don't know, there's loads of different things that you'd find in a living room, like just a small sofa, there's a TV, there's a bed, there's all kind of things, there's a little table, anything you'd find in the living room. This is your living room, okay? You can get whatever you want. If you want a swimming pool in your living room, you are glad to do it as long as you can fund that operation. And how this thing works is pretty interesting and creepy because the way it works, listen, okay, sit back, listen, grab some chocolate, you know, it's just Easter soon, grab your Easter egg, smash over your head. I've tried that, it did not go very well, it really hurt. I even tried to punch it and my hand now hurts. You might call me weak, but you might be true, but just don't be rude, okay? It's 2023, stop being stop, okay? Stop being stop. Now, how this thing works is there's a door in the middle of the sphere, because that's what it is, like a giant ball sphere, however you want to proclaim it. So there's a massive door, and on the inside of the door is the living room. And when humans go in, you know, it can only be humans. You know, it's been tested far and wide. Rats, apes, chimpanzees, whales, sharks, even orangutans have went in there, and nothing's happened. But when humans go in, they don't make it back out. You know, they turn what? Well, I guess you could say they turn into the furniture. So if your long life dreams to be a carpet or a rug on someone's living room, then you have to go into this ball, and I don't know, whatever happens, and you are now a rug. That's your life goal now, okay? Live up to it. Now, I know I didn't have much for this, but I don't really, if I'm being honest, I don't really care about what the thing is. It's just a fun part for a story. It's an idea, so I'm more excited about the story, so without any further ado, I'm not getting the recording, I'm just going to go into it, but it's going to be cut for you, so sit back, relax, and let's get straight to the story. It was after being unconscious, George slowly began to wake up. The first thing he hears is the cries of the people around him, and opening his eyes, he sees 7 other people tied up and crying. After seconds of piecing together the situation he is in, he finds that he's in the back of what seems to be a truck and is being kidnapped. Try as he might, he can't speak to anyone to see where he is, as him and the rest of the people have duct tape over their mouth. While on the way to their destination, George listens carefully to the outside of the truck, but the thickness of the walls prevents sounds from coming in. After what seemed to be hours, the truck finally came to a stop and everyone's heads shifted in sync. As the back of the truck begins to open, and walking inside is a person wearing a blacked out mask. Following behind the person with the blacked out mask, 2 other people stood behind him with similar masks and start grabbing the kidnapped people and leading them off the back of the truck. They all got sat down in a row. In front of them is a giant shutter. One of the people walk up and start to open the shutter, and as it opens, everyone is speechless as standing in front of them is a giant sphere. But what shocks them the most is that it seems that the sphere is made of what looks to be flesh. And in the middle of the flesh ball was a door. And in the middle of the flesh ball was a door. Not wasting any time, the main person with the blacked out mask doesn't explain or speak to any of them. He just points to someone and says, "Her first." He just points to someone and says, "Her first." 2 of the minions get the girl up and walk her to the stairs and towards the door. The girl screams and fights back, The girl screams and fights back, begging for them to let her go, but try as she might, they push her forward and give her no choice but to enter. The girl looks inside and notices decorations that you'd usually find in the living room, such as a small couch, a lamp, a table and a twin bed. The two look back at the main person and say, "All is there, boss. Nothing new. Yet." They tell the girl that she must enter the flesh ball, but with tears racing down her face, she pleads to be let go, but with a promise of seeing her family after she goes in and returns, she eventually gives in and enters the living room. As she begins to walk in, she starts to feel warm due to the hot, thick and moist air inside. The two minions speak in and ask what she sees and feels as the person with the blacked out mask silently walks up closer with his arms folded behind his back. As she speaks here about the furniture, the door instantly slams shut and locks itself, and seconds after, everyone hears the most god-awful screaming coming from the woman inside. The two minions rush up and try to force the door open, but try as they might, it won't budge an inch. After the screams finally stop, the door finally unlocks, and the momentum flings both the minions down to the ground. As they look inside, the room is empty and the girl is nowhere to be found, and the only thing they can see different is now there is a small TV sitting in the living room. Knowing this, the leader walks to a chalkboard on the wall and writes, "Test Subject 5, Failure." He walks back and now points at George. While the two minions start to walk to collect George, he pleads out and begs to know what the huge lump of flesh is and why they're being forced into it. The leader puts his hand up to stop his minions from getting any closer. He then pauses for a second before explaining this in an alien-like voice. "All of the people sitting here have been chosen to be sacrificed." One of the other kidnapped people speak up and ask why they have been chosen, and the leader explains that "You have all been chosen as you are all pure." Following this statement, another person speaks up and says, "Great, now my lack of a sex life is now a literal threat to my life." The leader then moves close to them and slowly removes his mask, and what they all see will haunt them for the rest of their lives.